Well, I think I'm going to tell a little bit about the funeral I went to 2 days ago for my friend Dan O'Leary, who was one of the most important people in my life because he mentored me when I was first a lawyer and he also advised me politically. Uh, my politics and his as to the legislature were very similar. Uh, we he and I both represented injured people was the most important part of our work. I did other things as well, like domestic relations and even some estate work. But he did nothing but workers' compensation claims and personal injury claims. But I could always drop by his office, and he would help me unsort knotty questions that I was trying to figure out. And I would also tell him what was going on in the legislature. He was keenly interested in uh, bills that had to do with injured people. But we, over time, got to be very good friends. And it was a tremendous blow to me, first when he became demented and then when he died. Uh, I've My experience in the recent years is it's almost harder when a friend becomes demented than it is if they just outright die. And he didn't recognize people that would go visit him for the last period of time. I don't know if it was a year or 2 years that he was in the memory unit. And so it was tough. And then I went to his memorial service, and it started out with a funeral in a Catholic church that lasted for about an hour, and then over to a winery that wasn't too far away that lasted a couple hours. So, all in all, I was immersed in his death and dying for 3 or 4 hours. And when I came home, I told Mary I felt better being there with his family and friends and the lawyers that he and I knew in common, shared the profession with. But when I woke up in the morning, the next morning, I was depressed, much more so than I almost ever am. So I struggled all morning yesterday. But by noon, working with the wonderful man that's helping me with these videos, I began to feel better. And to my amazement, this morning when I woke up, I felt really good. So I went down into a deep dip and then it came back up the other side. I'm still up the other side now. It's so rewarding to me that I'm finally getting to do these videos. Um, but one of the things that happened at the funeral was his son. He had one son and four daughters, Dan O'Leary did, and his son was the eulogizing speaker at the funeral. He's the only speaker at the funeral. And then hours later at the reception, at the social hour, his four daughters stood up shoulder to shoulder and talked, prepared remarks. But when his son finished reading his remarks that he had gotten all written out, he said, "Now I want to say something that's off the script." And that is that last summer I went to see my father, and there was something I wanted to say to him, and he was gone. So he said, "What I want to tell everyone here is if you have something you want to say to your mother or your father, get about it, because you don't have forever to get that done." Uh, the daughters were very upbeat. One of them in particular impressed me because she talked about having gone to work with her dad when she was at home, a high school student, and she'd go down to the law office with him on Saturday. And she said, "I learned that it's not all bad to work on Saturday." And she talked a lot about how hard he worked, which was one of the things that drew me to him. He was such a conscientious guy, and I role modeled off of that. In reflection on my life, I did have some wonderful times off. Uh, lawyers, many lawyers don't work all that much in August. They tend to get out of town on vacation. And I did. I went in on the Minam repeatedly with horses and packing in there. And also, uh, sometimes I did both wilderness camping and fishing and going to the the Ashland Shakespearean Festival with my family. Those two things were so wonderful and so relaxing. But for the rest of the year, I pretty much worked. And I'd go down to the office and work and come home and have dinner and watch the news and maybe watch a little uh, something on TV and then go to bed. And I worked and worked and I loved it. I loved that law practice. But a great deal of my life was work, like Dan O'Leary. And he inspired me in that. Uh, so, uh, adios, Dan. I loved you, and you're a wonderful, wonderful man.